to the On the Slab Horror Show, the show that we bring to you each and every Friday night. Master Christmas Ted, why do we do this on a Friday night?
Friday night is horror night, or at
Every night.
least it was.
Yeah, Christmas is horror night now, but
Yeah.
every night is fucking horror night at this stage. But yeah, the slogan was so good, we got it on a t-shirt. Notice the change of Christmas attire again.
Yes, get all these Christmas jumpers out.
I did not believe that I owned this many Christmas jumpers. Ted actually convinced me to go and have a check.
Yeah.
And if you want to know how much Christmassy spirit I'm in, I'm even wearing Christmas pajamas.
Yeah. See, you have to have a few Christmas jumpers to rotate through,
Now, unfortunately, the two boys aren't here. But in terms of Christmas attire, this is a movie with a Christmas in the title, obviously being our Christmas horror season.
Yeah.
It's called Black Xmas or Black Christmas. And it came out, which is a long time ago now. It's been two remakes, and the 19 remake not so good at all. The 06 one was decent. And
Yeah,
then,
there's a couple of like spin-offs to it as well.
is there?
Yeah, I've never seen them, but I was looking them up. There's a spin-off about instead of like the girls' sorority, it's like it's set before that, but it's the boys' sorority house.
Oh.
Or not what's there? Theirs isn't sorority, whatever it is.
Kappa house or
No, I don't know what they're like. Frat house.
yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
So it's like that, but it's him when he was in the frat house and how he became a killer.
Really?
Apparently, yeah, how he became a killer. Like I haven't seen it, so I don't know if it's any good, but apparently it's out there.
Well, it's not often that something like that actually stunned me. I didn't know there was any other to this other than the remakes.
No,
But
it's 1974, so it's as you said, obviously the two boys aren't here. King was what
17.
30 odd or whatever when this came out, and then
Ian was about 20.
Ian loves the old 70s. That's his genre.
To be fair, 75 gave us a couple of good ones.
It did, yeah. This isn't bad now, to be fair.
It's definitely dated. I rewatched it yesterday. I always remember watching this from a young age and loving it. And then I hadn't watched it for so long. Then I watched the 06 one once or twice. And I was like, okay, there's a new version to it. And then I had the disfortunate pleasure of watching that 19 or 20 whenever it came out.
Yeah.
But
I haven't watched that one, and I haven't seen the 06 one.
yeah, the 06 one's definitely more vicious.
Yeah, and this was always something I would have said about this, and I never got around to watching them, but I've always felt that this is one that could do with a remake. I know on this channel a lot we talk about how we don't like remakes and how they should take new, like they should create new ideas and things like that. And I think just to expand on that, my issue has never been that they've remade a film. My issue is that they take ones that are already done well and already popular, and because they have a name, they're like, we'll remake this. I don't want something that's already good remade. I don't want Jaws remade because it's already good. There is hundreds of just like great idea films, like films with a great premise and a great story to them that just didn't have the budget behind them, didn't have the special effects that were needed to do it. And because they didn't have the budget, they couldn't get the correct props and stuff in to do it as well as something like Jaws was done. So I want to see those remade because they already have a great story, and this way you can get a better film out of it.
I mean, prime example was probably The Hills Have Eyes.
Yeah.
A good premise to a movie of mutants living in the desert. Wes Craven, I know a lot of people love it, Michael Berryman, but for me, I never got into that original one. I thought I didn't like it at all. But the remake, the Alejandro Aria one, was off the charts.
Yeah, and as much as the lads sometimes don't agree with remakes being worth it at all, there has been a few decent ones. There's been a hell of a lot of bad ones. Don't get me wrong.
Jesus, there's some really bad ones.
And then there's ones that didn't necessarily need to be remade. but have done well with their remake, which is something like like the top you're wearing. Um, it didn't need to be remade, but it was done well. So I've no problem with that
Texas
because
Chainsaw.
yeah, like they didn't need to be remade, but they were done well.
Yeah.
This was something, and I haven't seen the '06 one, but you've said it is quite good, so I do need to check it out. This was one I feel did need to be remade, and I do think before we discuss it completely, I do think there's certain things that they could do better.
There's certainly a few holes in this movie.
Yeah, there's a lot of I think there's a lot of holes in this film, and I think tying some of them up would make this a better film.
Yes, definitely. Like as I said, I watched it when I was a lot younger, so I didn't really notice the plot holes. But the more you watch it when you're older, you pick it up, and there's some glaring ones in it.
Oh, huge.
But then again, it is what it is. It was this early '70s, mid '70s, like
Yeah, and again, like as I said, it didn't have that huge of a budget. But I think sometimes if you don't have the budget, you just need to make your story tighter. Like if they tightened up those little like loose threads and stuff and like made that a tighter script, I think it would, it'd be a better film. Like I love the idea that we never actually see the
Billy.
killer. Like the most we see of him is his eyes and stuff.
And what I found with this was it's one of the first films I remember where it's nearly done as a killer's point of view.
Yeah, when he's coming up towards the house, that is
And
like
like
it
he's
opens
climbing up,
brilliantly.
he's climbing up the trellis.
Yeah,
And like obviously, I haven't. You don't see very many of them. Obviously, the big one that came out last year was from our guest on the show, Devaney Pin's Black Mass. But
yes.
I think, and then obviously there's In a Violent Nature, which I fucking despised.
Yeah, but I do love the idea of a point of view camera.
Yeah, it's great.
And they did this one very well because they have him breathing heavy as he's climbing, and it's not just look up, bang, 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 bang. It's
Yeah,
slow, it's methodical. It's all done very well, and like even the kills are done well from the point of view they're shot, even if the kills themselves aren't
great.
done. Yeah, they're not done excessively well, but I think they had like again that's what I'm saying. Like they have such a great premise, and some of what they do is brilliant. So I understand why some people love this film because some of what they do is absolutely brilliant. Um, but they leave some very big plot holes. And then for me, I would just prefer if some of the kills were not bloodier or anything like that, but just done better.
The one that really stands out for me is obviously the first kill. With the plastic bag or the plastic wrap. Like you
Yeah,
can clearly see it's not wrapped around her head at all.
yeah,
It's just sitting on her face, and she's moving, and they're moving it with her.
yeah. And why did she go in there?
Yeah, that
Like,
was the old trope, though, wasn't it? Hear the spooky noise. Oh, let's go in there,
yeah, but she keeps going in thinking it's the cat, and you're like,
Mr. Jones or something. Yeah,
yeah, that cat isn't going to be up there. You just saw the cat. Like, what the fuck are you doing? And then, it's grand. The kill is fine. And I do like that they leave the mask, like the
the rap.
plastic wrap around her face the entire, like for the rest of the film. But
It's great. Yeah,
yeah, but she's sitting at a window.
someone's got to notice that she hasn't moved in fucking 4 weeks.
Yeah, well, they're all looking for her.
Well,
Look up there, you're outside. You can see her from the fucking window.
yeah, there's a few bits, and like I do get it. It was that time where those kind of things are overlooked, or maybe they're just more critiqued now, and you're just used to it.
Yeah. And it probably is that, like, when you look back, that was probably seen as, oh my God, that was such a good idea to have her in the window. But, like, she's in the window, you're all looking for her. And by the end of the film, they still haven't found her.
Yeah, it's just she's just missing. Like nobody knows. It's just
There's two bodies that they haven't found that they know are missing. They only find two bodies.
yeah, that
Oh,
are
well,
in the
three.
closet
Three technically. No, they're not in the closet. They're in the bedroom, aren't they?
or the bed. Yeah, but they're in the wardrobe in the bedroom, though, aren't they? They open it and she's just mangled in the corner.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
then obviously the boyfriend's body downstairs,
yeah,
and
he's a dick. He deserved it.
yeah, sort of, and then the police officer. But the police officer again, like this, is what we're saying. Like the police officer, it's a huge plot hole.
What happens?
How?
Like it's just.
Well, how's he killed him?
Yeah, you don't see much. I wonder, like obviously, well, I wouldn't say actually because it was 74. There probably isn't a lot of deleted scenes for this.
No, and that's the thing. Like, how did he get out of the house, kill the police officer, and get back in the house? Like, I guess you could say he went up and down
The trellis.
the trellis, but surely the police officer would have seen him coming down the fucking trellis.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of is he done the Michael Myers and slips out the back door or something.
Yeah, I guess like you could say something like that happened, but then like we hear that the phone calls have been going on for weeks.
Those phone calls are gas.
Yeah, but they've been going on like this has been going on a couple of days. Like it's not the first one they've got.
Yeah, the screen time
Um,
makes it look like the first call comes.
no, but it's been going on a while, and they're like, oh, but the calls are coming from inside the house. He wasn't in the house before that. So was he
Yeah.
calling from somewhere else for some random reason? We
Yeah.
never find out what was happening there.
Now, if I remember correctly, the '06 one does elaborate more on that.
Yeah, and again, this is what I'm saying. Like they had a bigger budget, they were able to expand out on some of this thing, and this is where a film like this does need to be tight on those things. Like you need
Yeah,
to make sure that you don't leave something like that as open.
yeah. I will say, Olivia Houston was very good in it.
I,
Um,
I think the acting for the 70s overall was very good, to be honest.
got,
Like I
it's
don't
got,
think
it's got my boy John Saxon in there too.
I wouldn't say anybody in this was bad. Do you know what I
No,
mean?
no, no. I think she's the main character, so she stands out a bit more than most.
Yeah, but I wouldn't
Uh,
say anyone was actually bad. Like the idiot cop plays his part well.
yeah, he's gassing.
Yeah, like everyone plays their part very well, which, to be fair, isn't a thing that happened a lot in the 70s.
Oh no, usually like, and I'm one to always say like Nightmare on Elm Street, apart from the likes of John Saxon and obviously Robert Englund, the rest
Yeah,
are meh at
struggling. Yeah,
best.
very
Even
struggly.
like
Yeah.
people go on about Heather Langenkamp being a scream queen. Like, yeah, okay, she's there, but in terms of acting, she's far behind a lot of the scream queens we've seen.
Yeah, and like, listen, this was the thing. The 70s horror was kind of not seen as Hollywood. It
Yeah,
was it was over there. So if you were acting in it, it was usually as a stepping stone to getting
might
to
might as
something
well
big.
be beside the porn section.
Yeah, and it was a stepping stone to getting into it. And then obviously as time rolled on, horror became a bigger genre, with the likes of Jaws and things like that, pushing it forward. But this actually has quite good acting in it.
Yeah,
As I said, like the only real problem is the plot holes. But other than that, like it's very well done. Like it's well shot. The idea of never actually seeing the killer never being caught. Um,
it was certainly one of the earlier ones that done something like that.
yeah, and the police are actually competent in it, which you don't see very often.
Oh, the police are usually dopes, aren't they?
Yeah, like
Even even
obviously you have
even
the
in
idiot.
Scream.
Yeah, like obviously you have the idiot guy here, right? Like who just keeps making mistakes all the time, and not taking them seriously. But the head detective is like, you don't think we should have taken it seriously? You don't think we should have done that? We need to get the phones tapped. He puts two and two together quite quickly of, oh, she's getting phone calls. This girl from that house is missing. Obviously something's up there. Like it's all like the police are actually useful in this,
Yeah, yeah.
which you don't see often. Normally they're just morons. Like,
And like even I said there, like even in Scream, the police aren't overly great. All right, Dewey's okay, but like some of the other ones are terrible.
yeah, most of them are pretty terrible.
And
Like,
I
yeah.
know I know it's part of the horror formula, really.
Oh yeah, yeah. But it's,
But
even just like like comedy films in general, police are shit. Like in films, they're just not good at, like, unless it's a police film, they're quite bad at their job. Like,
well, take Police Academy.
yeah, but like most of them, they're just bad at their job. Like they'll like dismiss things too easily, and we do see that a little bit here with the lower ranked police officers, where they're just dismissing things, and they're like, she's
It's
probably gone off with a boyfriend or something. And then you get a more senior police officer, and he's like, no, 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 let's put this together. And he's ringing her back saying, listen, you need to keep him on the phone longer. You need to, tell her to get out of the house, but don't tell her that the phone calls are from in the house. Just tell her to walk out the door and stuff. Um,
keep it low key.
yeah, like it's good to see competent police, but even though they're competent, they still don't catch Billy.
Yeah. I do think it's great, and I really I'm a big fan of John Saxon's. I think he brought a lot to sort of his parts in almost everything he's in.
Yeah,
Um, and especially like obviously he plays the chief of police in Nightmare on Elm Street as well. So
he's a good chief of police, all right.
you could look at him and be like, yeah, you're definitely a high up cop.
Yeah, and like he does it well. Like he's not, overly demanding. And even though he's the chief of police, he's not like friendly to the girls either. Do you know what I mean? He's telling them what to do.
Yeah,
He's nice,
he knows.
but like he's nice, but he's not like he's not babying them. He's just like, right, this is what you have to do. Listen, I know it's hard to listen to your man on the phone, fucking saying all that weird stuff, but you're gonna have to do it. Like, there's nothing we can do for you. You're gonna have to listen to it.
Some of them phone calls are gas though.
Do you think it's all him?
No,
But like, where are all these? Who's doing all the other voices?
I I would say there's a couple of people in it. Um, from this story, like I would say there's two or three of them, and I'd say there was a plan to be a two and a three.
Possibly, yeah. But you see, if there's two or three of them, then they all have to be up in that attic.
No, they don't though, because they could all just come in and out as they went. Do you know what I mean?
No, but the phone call has them all in the. They're all on the phone call. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, at one stage, yeah.
Yeah, like the first phone call, no, but as the phone calls go along, they're all in it. I always like, so I've always taken it that Billy is like schizophrenic,
That's probably a good shout, actually.
so that he had like, or sorry, well, like schizophrenic, but like multiple personality.
Like splitting glass.
Yeah, like he has a multiple personality. So like, I always took it that he killed his like his baby. They don't really say if it's a baby
Sister.
brother or sister, do they?
I think they mentioned a girl in one part of it. I think it's a sister.
It might be a baby sister, but he's definitely killed like a younger sibling. I think he's killed his mother, and I think he's killed his father. And I think his parents are meant to have been not necessarily abusive, but like not great parents either.
Yeah,
Um, and he, having killed them, took on their personalities. Um,
very similar to Perkins did in Psycho.
yeah, and I always felt like that's what I always felt. His dad's given out to him, and like, where's the baby? And then the mother's like crying, like, what did you do to your sister? And then he does the crying of the baby himself, and then he's answering, but he's answering as him whenever he did all of this, is the way I always thought about it. But again, that's never really explained, and because they didn't do a second one, we don't get anything. And that's fine because it lets you have those
The thought.
discussions.
I mean, I never looked at it that way. That's quite a good look on it, because if you think about it, right, and just say that, yeah, maybe he's doing what Perkins did in Psycho,
Hmm.
right? And then they have her sitting in the window, which is very similar to the way he has the mother in Psycho in the window of the house.
Yeah,
Maybe it's a little nod or something that we don't know, or maybe we're just looking too much into it.
it could have been, but it's the only thing that I can think of as to how he's doing all the voices. Do you know what I mean?
He has Jim Carrey there with him.
Yeah, but it's the only thing I can think of because, like, I suppose you could say, yeah, he's just one guy doing the voices himself, but it seems to be very like call and response. So you would think it's two people. Like he says something in one voice, he responds in another, and it
And
just seems to be
it's
very call and
instantaneous
responsey.
as well. It's
Yeah, so I always took it that yeah, there's some sort of multiple personality disorder there, and like that's why this guy is psychotic because we never get a reason as to why he's hunting them.
yeah,
Well, we're not necessarily even hunting them. Like
it's just there. It's just killing them for the sake of it.
he just randomly seems to come down the stairs and be like, I'll just kill one of them, and then I'll kill another one another while later.
Yeah.
But we never find out why, you know.
You
So
could picture that conversation on the phone with him, right, with the phone to his ear, the all big fucking block phones, and you know the scene in Lord of the Rings when Gollum's talking to himself.
yeah,
Kill the fat hobbit. The fat
yeah.
hobbit will take it.
But it's just it's very like they say the phone call like he's in the house from quite early on in it, right? Because we see him go in before the first, well, not the first phone call, but the phone
The
call
opening
where
scenes, he gets in.
we see him get in, and then he has that phone call where they kind of tease him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
All the subsequent phone calls, they're all just like, oh, what's going on? But they've said that they've been getting these phone calls for a while. But with that one, he has already been in the house, and to be in the house, it means he had to be in the like mother's room.
with the phone. Yeah.
Yeah, which means he
But
wasn't upstairs.
do you know what I was just thinking as well, right? So he's ringing from inside the house in 1974, right? From a landline to the same landline number.
No, so it's not. They make a point of mentioning that it's a different number.
Oh, I
So
must have missed that.
they have two landlines. So there's matron, the
Oh, yeah.
matron of the
Sorry. Yeah, yeah.
house's
She has
phone,
her
and
one, doesn't she?
yeah, and that's where. But apparently that's where he's ringing from. But that means when he got into her room without any of them noticing, rang the first time, and then killed
Every time
somebody.
after that.
Yeah, but after that, it kind of makes sense because he's killed two people by that stage. Um,
Yeah, like
it just
the first girl dies after the second phone call. Isn't it the second one?
Well, we don't know. I think it's the second one in the film, but like
Yeah.
apparently they've been going
Well,
on a
from what we
while.
see on screen, it's the second call.
Yeah. Um, and yeah, like listen, there's as we said, there's plot holes. But one like if you look past them, it is a solid film.
Yeah, it's slow.
It is slow, but that was the style in
I
the
know, I know.
70s. Do you know what I mean?
It also touched on a very probably touchy point around that time in America with when she's like, I'm going to get an abortion.
Yeah, and that was very glossed over.
Well, yeah, it just kind of happens, and you're like, well,
Well, she says it, and the boyfriend is like, "You're not." But then she has to tell the police officer that she was going to do it. He doesn't seem to react all that like disgusted.
eh,
And the other girl that's there with her, is just like doesn't even mention it to her. Doesn't even be like you're going to get abortion. Like doesn't say anything. Just oh yeah, grand.
I'm getting something that rhymes with shishmortion.
Yeah, but doesn't say anything. You're just kind of like you just heard her say that that's what she's going to do. Like
Yeah,
this is
that's a
a
big thing.
like yeah, especially in the 70s, they really just glossed over that.
I mean, I don't remember ever really seeing another film that's set in that era that mentions anything like that.
No, and if they do, it's a big deal, and the person
Yeah.
who's thinking of it is like a really bad person, and this, that, and the other. In this one, they're just kind of like, yeah,
Okay.
it's fine. Yeah, everyone just moves on with their life. She says
You
she's going to do it.
you do you, bro.
Yeah, which, if she said it in a film today, you wouldn't think twice. But yeah,
No,
as you say, like it's because it's from the 70s, you don't see it.
and I get that if it happened now, no one thinks twice, right? But if the boyfriend in a film today says you're not doing it, there'd be uproar about it. Then, like you'd see all the supporting cast having a go.
Yeah, I actually, one other thing I did like about this is that they played it very well because obviously there's this killer in their house, and then the little girl was murdered in the park, which they bring up as a exterior point as to why they started looking into this because two people are missing now. But this little girl's been killed in the park, and it's just kind of a side plot. But it's a side plot to keep the police
Out of it.
busy. Yeah, like they have to be busy because this isn't the only thing happening.
And
Like a
I,
girl's been murdered and things like
I
that.
suppose as well when you look at it, right, a murder will always take precedent over a missing person,
Yeah, exactly. And they know that
especially a murder of a child.
yeah, and they know they found her body. They know this little child's been murdered, and they are still trying to help. They're doing their best to help here, but it's why their forces are essentially split. Um, and that has nothing to do with what's going on in their house. Do you know what I mean? That's just two bad things can be happening at once. Sorry, guys. Like
Yeah,
that's the way the world works. You don't see it often in films, and you probably don't see it often enough. Like,
yeah, like we go back to Scream. Obviously, it's a big franchise for you.
yeah,
Like obviously he's killing people, but doesn't seem to be any other crime. Even when they're in New York,
yeah.
there's
No
nothing.
one's no one's robbing anybody. Nobody's like it's just yeah, everything's grand. And like yeah, you can't make it a central plot point, but they didn't make it a central plot point, but they kept bringing it up. You know, it gets brought up at the start. There's a little girl missing. They find the little girl in the park. Then you don't really hear about it for a while. Then the carolers come along and it's like, listen, you have to like we need to get them in a car because like a girl got murdered. So they bring it up again, and then the two lads come to the door, um, and they are very creepy. Um, they're, they're just a bit weird, and they're like, yeah, you aren't coming into the house, girl. Like, get the fuck.
Look
But
off.
they bring it up again about the little girl being murdered. So they keep, it's not a central plot point, but they keep bringing it up to remind you that, just
Something
because
else
this is
is
happening
happening.
in the house doesn't mean this is why nobody else is like as concerned about this missing girl and stuff. They're just like, well,
She'll show
there's
up.
she might show up, but we're trying to find who killed this little girl, like the missing girl, like the dead girl, like.
Yeah, and as I said, that would always take precedent anyway at the start.
Yeah, of course it would, and it gives you a reason as to why things are split.
And
It's not
I,
just
I
all
suppose as
all eyes
well,
on that.
at the time it's Christmas time as well, so that means they're going to be down staff.
Yeah, like they again, like they have a lot of very good stuff in this. It's just I feel like could have done better. And you said that the '06 one is probably a bit better, so I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, it's
Um,
definitely better sort of action, and they tidy up a few bits in the story.
yeah, now like this one, I think the closest thing we see to an actual kill is probably the unicorn, glass unicorn,
Oh,
where he like stabs down at her, but like you don't see a whole lot. And I know they did that on purpose because obviously it would have been a lot more difficult to do that well. Um, and this like gets you around it, but the rest of the murders you don't really
yeah, as I
see a
said,
whole lot.
the plastic sheet isn't
Yeah.
done great.
Then
Great
it's like
effect at the end of it when you see it
yeah.
wrapped around her head, but
The
doesn't
other
look
one's like
great.
a hook that gets the matron. He like swings a hook that was up in the attic.
Yeah, that one was terrible.
What the fuck do you have a hook like that up in your attic for? Um,
Catching
uh,
sharks.
yeah, and then the kill of the other girl when she goes into the room, we don't even see what happens to her. She's just dead.
Do you think they ran out of budget?
I don't know if they ran out of budget. Like we didn't see what happened to the police officer, and his thing doesn't look great. Like the cut,
Yeah,
like it's meant to be his throat is slit, and like it just looks like someone went out and was like, get a bit of ketchup and just rub that on his neck there, will you?
yeah.
It
Well, I
does
mean,
look a bit rough.
1974 is probably could have been done a little bit better, but
Yeah, no, and I do get that, again, you're working within a lower budget and stuff. But yeah, like the kills aren't great. And that's obviously in comparison to what we've seen with some other kills. But even and it's not just more recent films. Like when we look at kills from films around that time frame, there's a lot of very good ones.
yeah,
Um,
especially when you look at the likes of Halloween and stuff.
yeah, now they had a bigger budget, so that helps with that. But yeah, I
Right.
just feel maybe you could have had some
So
better kill scenes, I suppose.
1974, right? This was made, well, probably 73.
Yeah,
Had a budget of 686,000.
just that's more than I thought they would have had, to be honest.
Right. So now let's compare that to Halloween. So that's what I'm doing here, folks.
I would
I'm
say
actually googling
Halloween
the
twice as much, maybe.
Halloween 1978 budget. Best thing about the internet, it tells you. You think Halloween had a bigger budget?
I would have thought so, yeah.
Halloween had a budget of 300,000.
See, that's like the fact that this had twice the budget of Halloween.
Yeah,
Now, granted, there's more actors and stuff in this film.
there is.
Um,
And I suppose when you look at, well, I suppose so, right? Okay, you're paying your main actress, right?
yeah, and you have that big sorority house as well that you have to
And
rent
you're
out
paying
for however long.
John Saxon would have been a bigger name, right? Other
Yeah,
than that, there's probably not a whole lot. All right, okay, they might have been around that time. They might have been semi decent actors or whatever. I don't know. I wasn't born. I wasn't even
yeah,
considered
yeah. It's still though double the budget.
of Halloween. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I'm not saying the kills in Halloween are overly spectacular. Do you know what I mean? Like they're not amazing either. But they are better.
Do you, do you think that Halloween might have struck some luck coming out when it did? Like if that had come out, say, 3 years later, exactly the same. when it was a big turn of slashers.
Possibly, but again, would the slashers have come out had it not been for Halloween? Is one of
Eh,
the arguments.
okay,
Do you know
yeah,
what I
you've
mean?
got that, yeah.
Um, this is essentially a slasher.
It is, yeah. You just
So
don't see
like,
it.
and people do credit Halloween for being the slasher. Like this has a claim to being the one that um kind of made slashers a thing. The only problem is you don't really like he's not really a slasher in the
Yeah,
sense of,
it's just
you
a
know,
psycho.
yeah, well, he makes one kill and we only see that he does one kill um with an object where he stabs somebody. Like the other ones, he's not slashing. Like I know that necessarily a slasher isn't always knives and stuff, but in general, slashers have been like
Yeah,
knife-like objects, which is
yeah.
why they're
Sharp,
slashers because you're
sharp
slashing.
objects, yeah.
Yeah, you're slashing. That's why it's a slasher.
Yeah.
So yeah, this doesn't necessarily fall into that, but it probably did. I would say that this probably had an effect on what Carpenter did for Halloween.
I mean, certainly there is some like similarities in the way that he uses like people in school, and obviously it seems to be a thing as well. But obviously they're a bit older in this one. Like they went high school ish in
Yeah,
Halloween, but I like that this one and Halloween they didn't over sexualize the characters for
no,
absolutely no reason. Where a lot of these horrors in and around this time in the 80s definitely did.
they did because that was kind of tied in. Like they only had one character who I suppose was overly sexualized in this one. Um,
Yeah, but look, what I mean by that is like you don't
no
have them
nude
fucking
scenes. Yeah,
yeah, running around half naked and stuff.
yeah, no, they just made a character that was obviously,
Promiscuous.
yeah, which would have been overly sexual considering it was in the 70s. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Slightly like a different time, whereas that like wouldn't no one would bat an eye that she was like that now. Do you know what
yeah,
I mean? But yeah, like I think it has its place in horror history, definitely. And as a Christmas horror, it's definitely one of the better ones.
yeah. And I mean, it's probably
Um,
one of the first ones I'd say,
I'd say it's probably one of the first ones, which
or
maybe,
or at least one of the first big ones.
yeah, which is maybe why they didn't go the route of being overly brutal
Yeah,
with the
to try and
kills. They
keep it
might have
the
decided
same.
to
Yeah,
stick away. But this is what we said in the kind of the Gremlins one. They made it Christmas, but they didn't focus it too much around the fact that it's Christmas. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
It is Christmas. We know it's Christmas, but they're not like, oh, we need him killing people with candy canes. It has to be Christmas themed. No, it's just a guy who's a killer. It happens to be at Christmas that he's killing people, and that's what makes for kind of better horror films around. Like if you're going to try and do a Christmas horror, you kind of need to pick a lane. You either go super Christmassy, which, then it's kind of funny because you've
Yeah,
gone so Christmassy, or you let us know it's Christmas, but don't really,
focus on it. Yeah,
yeah, it doesn't, you don't have to keep reminding us. It's just, it is Christmas, and we know it
and
is now. That's it.
I mean, it's in the title as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. No, like I did enjoy it. I hadn't rewatched it in years. It's
It's
not one I'm gonna rewatch again overly quickly either. I will check out that '06 one, but
don't check out the 19 one.
no, I'm not gonna bother checking out the '19 one. But I will check out that '06 one, and if I can find the other one that I was reading about
Yeah, if you
that's
find it,
meant
let
to
me
be
know.
like, I'll try and check that out as well. I think that might be a fan made one, so it might.
I mean, this definitely did pick off and became a cult classic.
Yeah,
Absolutely
and
did.
I can understand why. Like it is very well done. The idea of never actually seeing the killer, except like that shot of his eyes when like he's like looking through the crack in the door. That's a brilliant shot again. Like they do all of those little things very well.
Yeah.
They
Um,
just didn't close out some of the big holes well. Like they
I
left
mean,
them.
if it was tidied up, perfect. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and again, this is one, and obviously it's been remade in '06. Had it not been remade in '06 and then a new one in 2019 or 20 or whatever it was, this is one if it came out and they were like, we're gonna make our first remake of it, I'd have been like, yeah, no, I'm all aboard for that being remade. And there's a lot of films from the 70s that if they decided to remake, they could do them and do them very well, with a
Here,
bigger
here,
budget.
here's one for you then. Put your retro time and recast, had it back on for a while. If this
Right,
was remade now for the first time, right? Who are you casting as the main? Off the top of your head.
right. You're going college age, I suppose.
Yeah. So you're talking probably 20s now.
Like the easy shout is to say Jenna Ortega, isn't it?
It wasn't
Like
for me now.
no,
I
but that's the easy shout
Yeah,
to go and say you'd go
yeah.
Jenna Ortega. I think I might go Kiernan Shipka.
Exactly who I had in my mind.
Really?
Absolutely exactly who
Yeah.
I had in my mind. I wouldn't have went Jenna.
I
Well,
see.
actually,
I
probably
think
would go Jenna because she's just perfect for them kind of roles. But
I
I
think
think
you'd
if
go.
you keep using her too much, it's not going to be.
Yeah, I see. That's why I wouldn't. I think if you put like I have Jenna Ortega has her main horror for like the big ones there now, and then she has kind of her side one in like the Adams Family. And not to say she can't go and do other horrors, but like she was great in X and things like that.
Oh yes,
Um, I don't know that she will want to end up being typecast into only doing horrors either.
and I mean those young looks that she has. Yeah, she's 22 or something now. They're going to run out eventually. There, she's going to have to stop playing them.
Possibly, like there's like,
But
see, I don't know.
I think herself she wants out of those roles.
Yeah, and I don't know that her. Like she's a very good actress, so she could do it. But I was going to say I don't know if her personality, the way she acts, I don't know if it fits the main character here. And you don't have Jenna Ortega being your side, like one of the side characters,
Yeah,
really.
I was really surprised when she was a side character in X. I
Yeah,
know
but
she wasn't as
she hadn't.
big then, but
Yeah, she hadn't blown up, and although like she's kind of a side character in that, but also not because she is quite a main character. Like X was quite good at making all of the characters fairly
yeah,
fairly much main characters. Whereas this,
they
most
very
of the
they very focus in that Olivia Houston or Olivia Thing is the main actress, Hussey.
yeah, like I suppose you could like you're not going to put Ortega into one of the roles that like she's not going to be the first girl killed because unless she
No,
came in on a very cheap budget, you're not going to waste her in that role.
no.
Um,
Like, let's be fair. If it's being remade, she is the one that's probably going to be cast. But for me, I would have. I had Karen Shipka.
Shipka'd be good there. I can never say her name. The girl that was in the new Halloween.
Andy Michalak,
Yeah, maybe
Matalik, or whatever it is.
she might be good as one of
So
the side characters, maybe.
as long as we're casting Judy Greer as the madam, I'm all in.
No, no, Judy Greer doesn't work as the madam. Well, not madam, like that makes it sound different. She's the matron. Um, no, I would say, yeah, like there's a lot of people you could do well, and then obviously, Billy, you could kind of make anyone Billy. You don't like,
That's why you use a stunt man or somebody.
yeah, you could just do whatever. But like, it is one. Obviously, it was remade in '06, so we don't need another one just yet. But it was if it's one of those ones that I think that when you want to remake films, these are the ones to go and take.
Yeah,
Ones
definitely.
that might have a cult following so that you'll get people watching them. Um, but ones that didn't necessarily hit the heights that they deserved to reach.
And I'm putting it out there right now. Nobody needs to remake the Mutilator. Simples. I know we're getting the second one, and I've seen the second one, but nobody has touched that movie.
No, and I think The Mutilator is one of those ones that even if you remade it, it doesn't take itself seriously enough to need to be super serious. And I don't think it works if you go super serious with it.
Yeah,
Um,
I thought it was quality.
no, I love the film now, don't get me wrong. And I've seen the second one as well, and I enjoyed it. But it's one of those ones that I don't think took itself so seriously that you'd be like, if you tried to go super serious with it, it'd be a bit,
Yeah,
all right. It doesn't really work. Um, Videodrome is one I think could be done well. Like I liked Videodrome. I think
you're not gonna like that.
yeah, but again, it's one that's not like I enjoy it and I actually like it as a film. But the issue with it is that it's like you could say Videodrome to somebody and they're not going to know it. Do you know what I mean? It never hit the levels that it could have hit. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I think for what it is, that's a conversation for a different day. I just wanted to throw that out there to see if you had the same mindset that I did.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I think what we'll do is I think we'll go with the ratings. What are you going with? Out of 5?
I think 2.5. I normally don't go halves. I normally try and go to like a full, but I think I go 2.5 here because I don't think it's good enough to get to 3, but it's definitely not nothing lower than that.
Yeah, that's where I was kind of line up as well in and around there.
Yeah,
Good
and I think
soundtrack
that's a
too.
yeah. I think that's a good spot for it. They left themselves open for a second one had they wanted to do one. They obviously decided not to.
Or if they did, I've
Um,
never seen it.
no, I don't think they did. And maybe that's for the best. Like it was a cult classic for a reason. And maybe it's for the best they didn't go for a second one
Yeah,
because had they gone for a second one, you're probably talking getting into 76, 77,
yeah, it's gonna challenge a few then, wouldn't it?
and then you're going to be coming up against some of the low ones with a lower budget, but ones that then went on to be timeless classics of it. So maybe for the best they didn't try.
Yeah. Well, maybe when he's seen some of the other ones coming out, they went, "No, let's not."
I'm not going up there with John Carpenter. Thank you
What's
very
that?
much.
Halloween? No, thank you.
I'll let John take this one. Thanks.
Um, but this is week number 3 of the Christmas classics.
Yeah, so one more to go.
One more to go, folks. Leave a comment underneath and see if you can guess what the last one is. It's
It
gonna
is
be a tough.
not The Grinch. I will tell people that because that isn't a horror. I
And
know there is a horror one, but if we're gonna do anything Grinch wise, it's Jim Carrey, right? And we can't
no,
do that here
it's
because
it's the mean one.
no, but that's what I'm saying. If we're gonna do a Grinch one, I'm not doing any Grinches that aren't the Jim
Jim
Carrey one. Like that's the end of it.
I will tell you one other one that it's not. It's not Santa's Sleigh with Bill Goldberg.
Yeah, and obviously, as we said last week, it's not Terrifier. We only covered it
6 weeks ago.
5 or 6 weeks ago. We have nothing new to add to that. So
But yeah, check it out next week, folks. And then you might get a happy Christmas from us. You might not. We'll have to wait and see. But we'll finish this the way we finish every single Friday night, ladies and gentlemen. In the words of the great George A. Romero, stay scared.